Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. This time it is time for SmackDown from Friday, July 19th, 2013 from Providence, Rhode Island. Show starts off with the intro that they hardly ever do. The show actually starts with Teddy Long in the ring, and he talks and he says that Vince will be here tonight to announce who is going to be the permanent GM of SmackDown. Since, we got the new permanent GM of Raw, we gotta have one for SmackDown too. Because, Teddy's been doing it for a while because Booker T's been injured. So, whatever the hell. Speaking of Booker T, out he comes. He comes out, and he basically gets no reaction, by the way. But he comes out and he gets in the ring and he starts talking. And then Vince comes out. So we're already going to have Vince already. He comes out and he talks about who will be the permanent GM. First, he asks Teddy if you would be the GM of if I made you the GM of SmackDown, what match would you make? And I think Teddy said that he would make Curtis Axel and Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental title. Okay, fine. Vince asked the same question of Booker T, and Booker T says we'd have Alberto Del Rio, the world champion, versus Randy Orton. Non-title, but we'd have the match. And so Vince gets his answers from these guys, and then he says, he doesn't say anything. All of a sudden, Brad Maddox comes out. And he says he wants to be the GM of SmackDown as well. Not just Raw, but SmackDown too. And Vince says, alright, well, I think I've made my decision. There's a drum roll. And he announces the new general manager of SmackDown is going to be Vickie Guerrero. Yes, Vickie Guerrero is back as the general manager of SmackDown. Much to pretty much everyone's chagrin. So, really don't know why they decided to do this, but anyways, Vickie comes out, and Vince leaves, and Vickie gets a mic and she's talking, and basically all she says is, I'm gonna blame all you people for me losing my job as GM of Raw. A job that I liked. So she hates all of us. That's what she says. You cost me my job, so I hate all of you. And I'm like, okay, Vickie, well, we already hate you anyways, so fuck you. But she decides to just shit all over everybody now that she's back. Yeah. Yeah, so let's see what else. After she gets done pissing on the crowd, basically, she leaves. And by the way, Maddox, Teddy, and Booker T have all been standing in the ring the whole time, just looking on at Vickie, just staring in dismay, essentially. So that whole segment finally ends and whatever the fuck. Oh yes. After that, they say we're going to be having the Miz TV segment that they hyped up on Raw, Miz interviewing Paul Heyman. That's going to be later, so they cut to a commercial. They come back, and Jack Swagger is already in the ring. And of course, at ringside are Cesaro and Zeb Coulter. And so apparently Swagger's going to be in a match. Who's his opponent? Dolph Ziggler's music hits, and out he comes. Yay, Ziggler, okay. So Ziggler comes out, and we've got us a match. And that's all well and good. So we got this match going, and it's actually an alright match. By the way, I'm going to stop taking such detailed notes on the matches. I finally figured that the entire purpose of this is just for me to basically give my opinion on what happened. And so, going over the whole friggin' match is pretty unnecessary. So I won't be doing that anymore. I'm just going to cover the finish and anything big or perhaps storyline related that happened during the match. So anyways, we have Swagger versus Ziggler, and like I said, this is an alright match. The only big notes is they keep getting shots from backstage of AJ and Big E watching the match on a monitor backstage. So they keep getting shots of that. At one point, Swagger bails out of the ring, and he's trying to regroup, whatever. He does this a couple of times, and finally Ziggler has enough of it, so he goes out after him. And he grabs Jack, and he's like huddling with Swagger, or with Cesaro and Coulter. He's huddling with them. So Ziggler grabs him, hits him a couple times, throws him back into the ring. And of course, as he rolls back into the ring, the referee's distracted with him. So Ziggler jumps up on the apron, but Cesaro grabs him, pulls him off the apron, and European uppercuts him on the way down. So he nails him with that. Ziggler's wiped out on the floor after this, of course. The ref is still having his little talk with Swagger, but they finally look back over to where Ziggler is, laid out on the floor, and the referee gets out of the ring and he's like, "What did you do?" He didn't see anything, so he can't actually disqualify him, or disqualify Swagger for interference, but he's like, "What did you do?" And Cesaro's trying to play all innocent and everything, but the referee eventually just says, "You know what, fuck it, I'm throwing you out." So he's going to eject Cesaro, and then Coulter thinks he's going to bow up all tough. He even basically comes up and like belly bumps the ref, and he's like, "What are you going to do?" And the referee's like, "Well, fuck you, I'm throwing your ass out of here too." So he throws out Coulter as well. And I'm like, well, good. The fans are chanting, "Nah, nah, nah, goodbye," all that good stuff. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. After that, after that, the match goes on for a bit, and the finish is Swagger gets Ziggler into the Patriot Lock, the ankle lock. Ziggler is somehow able to get out of it. I guess it was supposed to be like him trying to use his hands to pull up off of the mat, and I guess he was supposed to roll through and throw Swagger into like the corner, but it didn't really look like that. He just it looked like Swagger basically tripped and let go of the hold, and Ziggler jumps up, and he's behind Swagger. He jumps up and he hits the zigzag, and he gets the 1, 2, 3, and that's it. So Ziggler, of course, wins. After that, of course, Swagger leaves, and Ziggler gets a mic, and he basically says that, Raw, he dumped AJ, and that he's sorry. But it's a swerve because he says, "I'm sorry, I didn't do it a lot sooner." So that was just a big, F you to AJ. And of course, after seeing this, they cut back to AJ and Vickie backstage, and AJ freaks the fuck out. She starts screaming, she's yelling. There's a big bunch of chairs set up on the floor next to them. I don't know why, but she starts kind of stumbling through them. She starts throwing them, she's knocking them over, she's still screaming her head off. And Vickie comes over and he's trying to calm her down, and she's kind of slapping him, and not really slapping, but just kind of hitting him on the chest. And of course he's a big guy, so it doesn't really bother him much. And eventually he finally grabs a hold of her, and he's basically like hugging her. And it starts looking like the two of them are about to kiss. And I don't really get that, because it was supposed to be just like a friend relationship between the two of them, but whatever, I mean, I don't really care. But it's looking like they're gonna kiss, but Vickie kind of pulls back and just kisses her on the forehead. And after this, AJ, she's calmed down by now, but she looks kind of puzzled. And I mean, yeah, obviously. But they cut back to the arena, and the Shield music hits. Out comes Rollins and Reigns. And apparently they're set for another tag team match against the Usos. So they come down and they get in the ring, and then they cut to a commercial. And when they come back, they show a recap of the Shield attacking Mark Henry from Raw. And after that, the Usos actually come out. Okay, whatever. They get their whole entrance and whatever the fuck. As they come up to the ring, they decide not to wait. They both dive into the ring, and they go right after Rollins and Reigns, and this big brawl breaks out. There's no bell. Bell never sounds. The match never starts. This big brawl is breaking out, and I guess because they decided to be really aggressive and not really let the match start, they're in the ring fighting with Rollins and Reigns, and then all of a sudden there's Dean Ambrose, and he's in the middle of it now, and so okay, it's now 3-on-2, and then all of a sudden Mark Henry's music hits, and out he comes. And so now it's all evened up, and the three members of the Shield try to jump Mark as he gets in the ring, but he's able to fight him off. And then the Uso guys come back up, and then it's even 3-on-3, and so Henry and the Usos are able to chase off the Shield guys. They bail out through the crowd, of course, like they always do. But yeah, so that basically just comes and goes. Like I said, the match never really started, so it just basically equated out to a big brawl. Okay, after that they say that RVD is making his big return to SmackDown, because not only is he back at WWE, it's been like 7 or 8 years since he's made a freaking appearance on SmackDown. And so, yay, his return to SmackDown is coming up soon. Sometime tonight. And then they also hype up Del Rio and Orton for later on, which of course was the match that Booker T said he was going to make. Vickie decided to just go ahead and make both of the matches that Booker T and Teddy Long announced, or said that they would do if they were given the job. Vickie decides to do both of them. So we're going to have Del Rio and Orton. And we're also going to have Axel and Jericho for the Intercontinental title, and we'll get to that. Yeah, so they hype up Del Rio and Orton. And that's going to be later on. And then they cut to a commercial. when they come back from commercial, and Daniel Bryan comes out, and Wade Barrett is already in the ring. So, obviously, who in the hell do you think's gonna win here? Oops. Yeah, so right. So okay. Right. As Bryan's coming out, they have a recap from Raw of Cena picking Daniel Bryan as his opponent for SummerSlam. Ooh, okay. So we start having the match. It's short, but it's decent. Bryan gets the no lock, or the yes lock, the whatever lock, locked in on Barrett, and Barrett taps out like the little bitch that he is. There's your match. Like I said, it was short, but it was decent. Okay. They cut backstage to Vickie. I guess it's outside of the general manager's office, but it's outside in the hallway. She's there talking with a stagehand or whatever the fuck, and Maddox comes up. Brad Maddox. And so he's talking to Vickie, and he just basically wants to, he just hopes that Vickie forgives him for the thing that he didn't even really do. Yeah. But he wants Vickie to forgive him for taking her job as general manager. I don't really see how he needs to apologize for this. Vince is the one that gave him the job. If anybody would apologize, it would be Vince. And I think Vince needs to start apologizing right away for making Vickie the fucking general manager of SmackDown. But again, besides the point. Brad wants Vickie to forgive him for taking her job. And Vickie's like, okay, let's just shake on it. Bygones be bygones, whatever. Brad's like, okay, let's shake, and he sticks his hand out. And Vickie goes to shake, but then she just hauls off and slaps him right in the face. And this sounds like a pretty damn hard slap. She slaps him, and then she goes into her office, and that's it. And Maddox is just left there holding his face, the frickin' handprint. So,
you have received a request.
Yeah. They say that the Miz TV segment is up next. They cut to commercial. We come back. Miz is in the ring. Everything's set up. He introduces Paul Heyman, and Heyman comes out and gets in the ring. And they show a recap of the fight between Punk and Brock from Raw. And when they get done with that, Miz talks, and he basically says, I don't really have any questions for you. There's really nothing to say. It's, so, he just wants Heyman to say whatever. And so, Miz basically just stands there holding the mic for Heyman, and Miz don't even want to look Heyman in the face. He's looking away over towards the commentators. He don't give a fuck. He's just holding the mic for Heyman to talk. So Heyman starts talking, and basically all he says is he wants Punk to just stay down, leave the WWE and never come back, and don't try to fuck with Brock, because if he does, Brock's gonna beat the holy hell out of him and whatever the fuck. But he finally gets done talking, and Miz finally looks back, and he's like, really? Really? You know, he goes through that thing. And basically all Miz says is he's just kind of sickened with Heyman after, all that Heyman said. He swore on his children's lives or their souls or whatever the fuck, and so Miz is basically just sickened by Heyman. He drops the mic and he leaves. He starts leaving. He heads for the curtain, but as he's on his way up the ramp, Heyman picks the mic back up and says, "Oh, let me introduce you to the man who beat you at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Still our Intercontinental Champion, Curtis Axel." So out comes Axel, and he passes Miz on the ramp, and they kind of make eyes with each other, whatever the fuck. Axel comes out and he gets in the ring. They cut to a commercial. When they come back from the commercial, they do another recap. This time it's of Vince making Vickie the GM from earlier. And they also show Vickie slapping the shit out of Maddox from 5 minutes ago. Don't really understand the point of that, but whatever. Jericho comes out. And he gets in the ring, and it's time for this match. And this is a match for the Intercontinental title. Not that it matters. But anyways, they start having the match. And it's a decent match. The only really notes I have is somewhere during the match, they cut to another commercial. Axel hits the Magilla Cutter and gets a 2 count. Jericho hits the Lion Salt and only gets a 2 count. Jericho is able to get Axel into the walls of Jericho, but he makes it to the ropes and gets a rope break. And shortly after that, Axel hits that up to the neck breaker and then twists him down into the face plant buster. He hits that and he gets the win. So Axel successfully retains the title. Whatever. No one really cares. Axel leaves with Heyman, and as they're leaving, Ryback's music hits. And out he comes. Now, of course, we all know the history between Ryback and Jericho, as brief as it is. But Ryback comes out and he gets the ring and he's just kind of slapping and kicking Jericho in the head. Not really hard, but he's just kind of slapping him around. Oh. Right, so he's just kind of slapping him around, kicking him around. He goes to pick him up, but Jericho fights him off and starts fighting back. But Ryback knees him in the gut or whatever, runs over, hits the ropes. Jericho turns around and eats a meat hook clothesline from fucking hell, basically. He knocks Jericho the hell out with this clothesline. And he picks him up, he sets him up for the shell shock, he hits it. And he's looking like he's getting ready to leave, but then Jericho starts looking like he's getting up. And so Ryback goes over and just soccer kicks him in the ribs. And then Ryback leaves. And that's it. And so they start saying, okay, once again, Del Rio versus Orton is coming up later. They cut to another commercial. When they come back, Damian Sandow is in the ring with, of course, his Money in the Bank briefcase and a microphone, and he starts talking. And basically what he says is he rolls the clip of Cody attacking him from Raw, and he continues talking, and basically what he says is he doesn't understand why Cody attacked him, and he still wants them to be friends, and he wants Cody to come out and explain himself. And so Cody comes out, and When Cody gets in the ring, Damian kind of cuts him off and says, "You know what? I don't need you to explain. I forgive you." So he forgives him, and then he offers Cody the chance to be the protector of the briefcase. And he explains this as, up until he decides to cash the frickin' thing in, Cody would be in charge of protecting the briefcase to make sure nothing happens to it, nobody steals it or whatever the fuck. So he gives Cody this offer, and Cody basically, he says he's going to accept, and he even says thank you, and Damian hands him the case, and of course Cody takes it and proceeds to smack Damian in the face with it, and then he attacks him again. And of course Damian gets out of the ring and escapes, and he's walking up, or backing up the ramp, and as he's doing this, Cody grabs the briefcase and just chucks it up the ramp. And Sandow picks it up and leaves with the case, of course. And that's pretty much all for that. They cut backstage to RVD walking through one of the hallways, whatever. Apparently he's up next. His big return to SmackDown. Whoop-de-doo. And yeah, that's up next. They cut to a commercial. When they come back, Darren Young of the Primetime Players is in the ring already, and of course his partner Titus O'Neil is there at ringside, and of course he's going back to his old gimmick of having a stupid referee whistle. And so he's got that, and that comes up during the match because he's blowing this whistle throughout the match. But anyways, Darren's in the ring, and then RVD comes out. Whoop-de-doo. They start having this match. This match sucked. Yeah. It was basically all RVD for the most part, and it was essentially just a highlight reel of all his big moves. He hits the Rolling Thunder. He does the springboard back kick. He does the springboard. He did like 3 springboard moves the same way. Like I said, he does the kick, he does a springboard into a crossbody, he hits the Rolling Thunder, I think he did the cartwheel moonsault, and then he hits the 5-star frog splash and he gets the win. Whatever, who gives a shit? They say Del Rio and Orton is up next, and they cut to a commercial. When they come back from the commercial, they recap the Wyatt family's attack on R-Truth from Raw, along with the promo that Wyatt himself cut. Whatever the fuck, they recap that, and then they cut back to the general manager's office, where Vickie is there, and she's on the phone, and the first thing she says is, "First thing next week, I need somebody to redecorate this office. It's hideous." And I'm looking at it like, looks fine to me, you stuck-up twat. But anyways, Teddy Long comes up. And he says, you wanted to see me, because apparently she sent for him. And Vickie says, "You know what, I know you don't like me, but I'm willing to let bygones be bygones." And Teddy's like, "Really?" And Vickie just kind of stares at him for a second, and then she's like, "Hell no!" And she calls for security. Security comes up, and she tells them to get Teddy the hell out of the building, off the show, and out of her life. And so they escort him away. And all I get from this is it's not even 24 hours removed. Vickie is already abusing her power as the new GM. Just like she always did. And I'm like, boy, I'm glad Vince decided to make her the GM of SmackDown. Fucking bitch. Yeah. Thanks, Vince, you fucking moron. Thanks for bringing back the shrill-voiced cunt that everybody was fucking glad to be rid of. Nope, bring her back and make all of our lives miserable again. At this point, I'm seriously considering not watching SmackDown from now on, because I really don't want to put up with her again. We had to put up with it for so long on Raw, and before that, she was the general manager of SmackDown the first time, and that was terrible. I don't understand why they keep torturing us with this shit. Everybody hates Vickie. Get rid of her. Like, seriously, you don't have to fire her completely. Like I said before, you can keep her on as a seamstress or a makeup artist. Keep her backstage. Don't have her on TV. Don't use her as an on-screen character. Just keep her on the payroll. And keep her the hell off of TV so we don't have to put up with her. It's fucking annoying. But anyways, that segment, whatever. They cut back to the arena, and Randy Orton's coming out. They cut to a commercial. And when they come back, they hype up that the Big Show is going to be returning this coming Monday on Raw. Yeah, you might have noticed that the Big Show hasn't been on TV for a while. I'm trying to remember. I mean, aside from being on the pay-per-view panel at Money in the Bank, he hasn't wrestled on Raw or SmackDown or any other show for... I'm trying to remember, when the hell was it that we saw him last? Can't remember, and I don't really care, because honestly, it's Big Show. Who the fuck cares? But anyways, apparently he's coming back. Don't know if he's going to be a face or a heel this time. But he changes so often, I really don't think it matters. But anyways, after that, Del Rio comes out, and it's time for the match. Orton and Del Rio, and this was a good match. It goes on for a while, 10, 12 minutes or so. The finish of the match is Del Rio goes for the cross-arm breaker. And as he spins around and lands it to go into the submission, Randy continues rolling and gets out of it. And Del Rio gets up and decides to go for that, like, concussion kneeling super kick thing. Randy sidesteps it and dodges it. And as Del Rio turns around, Randy hits the RKO on him. Gets the win. 1, 2, 3, and that's it. That was the main event of the show. And afterwards, Randy just kind of celebrates with his Money in the Bank briefcase. And that's it for SmackDown. So, that was it, really. Overall, the show was alright. Couple of matches. Swagger and Ziggler was alright, as I said. The Shield tag team match never started, so we can't really count that one. Barrett and Bryan was short, but it was still decent. Axel and Jericho was a decent match. It went on for probably 10 or 12 minutes or so. It was decent. And then, Young and RVD, that one sucked. It was basically one-sided, it was RVD kicking the crap out of Young, with Young getting very minor offense. And yeah, it sucked. And then of course we had Del Rio and Orton, and that was a good match. So yeah. Like I said, overall the show was decent. I wouldn't say it was anything special, but it was a decent match. And now it's time for the rant portion. Why in the fuck did we bring back Vickie? Seriously. Vince, if you had any clue what the fuck you were doing, you would get her off TV as soon as possible. Everybody hates her guts. And it's not just heel heat, like I keep saying. It's not heel heat. We don't want to see her get beat up. We don't want to see her get her comeuppance or whatever. We just want her to go away. So just make her go away. Seriously. Yeah, so I don't know, this whole Vickie thing. I think they're really overestimating. They're just overestimating her as a character. She sucks. She's not entertaining, regardless of what Vince thinks. And it's just getting annoying that they keep having her on the show. They keep having her and her fucking shrill goddamn voice. It's getting old. Seriously. Don't want to see her anymore. Don't want to see her get beat up. Nothing. We just want her to go the hell away. So, but yeah, yeah, other than that, though, I guess I don't really have any, anything to talk about, from SmackDown at least. I would like to comment one thing really quick, in that I think I already know what's going to happen at SummerSlam. They had, of course, Cena pick Daniel Bryan to be his opponent for the WWE title match. And we, of course, know that Randy Orton is Mr. Money in the Bank for the WWE title. So, I'm thinking what's going to happen is it's going to be probably a long match. It'll go back and forth, and Bryan will actually end up winning somehow. He'll win the WWE title. He'll somehow beat Cena. I know it seems unlikely, trust me. I know it sounds unlikely. But I'm just feeling like Bryan's going to win. He'll be celebrating. And then out will come Randy with his Money in the Bank briefcase. He'll clock Bryan, and of course Randy and Bryan have history. So that makes perfect sense. He'll come out and he'll clock Bryan with the thing, and he'll beat him up, and then he'll say, I'm cashing it in. He'll cash in the friggin' Money in the Bank. He'll hit the RKO on Bryan, pin him, and then Randy will end up being the WWE Champion at the end of SummerSlam. And then, of course, Bryan will have a rematch, so the feud will go forward like that, and Cena will hopefully be nowhere near the frickin' title picture for a while. Maybe this is just wishful thinking, I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to comment on that real quick. So there's that. Not really anything else to comment on, I guess. Raw's on Monday. Don't know what's going to happen. Don't really care much either. But, yeah. So, that's it for the SmackDown rant. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you on Monday for Raw.